footprint, or play an instrument. There's one thing that you need with your education. And since we don't know what the education of the future will look like because we don't know what the world will look like, I've come to tell you that there's one thing I know that will be for sure no matter what. And I'd like to start, though, with a story, because this seems so simple, yet people don't seem to be able to get it. So my story starts with a gardener. Her name is Jasmine. Her whole life, all she wanted to do was to grow a tree that bore beautiful fruit. And when she grew up and got married, she shared this dream with her husband. And she told him of all of the wonderful pies and sorbets and tarts that she would make with this beautiful fruit. She searched high and low to look for the correct seeds and found them finally and paid a handsome price for them. She buried them in the ground right next to each other in the same soil. Over the years, she watered them. They grew under the same sun, the same moon, and the same stars at night. While the trees were growing, she prepared for their arrival. She took classes in baking. She bought special dishes, presentation plates. She even took a still life painting class so she could figure out how to paint them well. One day, she and her husband went out to the field, and to their surprise, they saw beautiful fruit on one of the trees. Plump, purple plums. They reached up and plucked them, took a bite, and were so delighted to have such sweet, juicy fruit, everything they dreamed of. But then they looked over at the other tree, and what they saw was that something had gone horribly wrong. Because on that tree, what they found were small, thumb-like fruits that were hard. And when they pulled one down and bit into it, it was so bitter they had to spit it out. They were devastated. What could they possibly have done wrong? Nevertheless, the husband gathered up the bad fruit and the wife gathered the good fruit, and she proceeded into the kitchen to try to make a good plum pie. Very disappointed, though, she kept trying to rack her brain. What could I have done wrong? They had the same sun, the same seeds, the same everything. I don't know what went wrong. So distraught was she that she cut her finger as she was trying to cut one of her plums, and it bled and it hurt her for a while. And then her husband sat and he opened the other fruit and he inspected them, and he kept thinking, what went wrong? What went wrong? And one of the fruits rolled over, and the woman's thumb that was throbbing and hurt so much, the minute that the other bad fruit touched it, the pain went away. And she looked up and said, oh my goodness. And she picked up that hard little fruit and she held it to her thumb and she wondered, what is this? My pain is gone. This fruit is making my pain go away. So for several days, Jasmine and her husband researched, and what they discovered was this was not a plum at all. This fruit was a neem. Do you know what a neem is? A neem is a healing fruit. It's bitter and it's hard and its purpose is medicinal. And what they found about this fruit was it wasn't a dessert. It was made to heal burns and ointments. It's made in shampoos, it's in soaps. Go and look at it. You'll find it all over the internet. And guess what? They almost missed it. They almost missed the great gift in one of their fruits. Every day around the country, across the globe, we miss the gifts that children can bring. We miss them because we're looking for plums. We prepare only for plums. But the reality is, this is what I believe. Every child comes into this world with something unique to give. And it's up to us as parents and as teachers, as politicians and as leaders, to figure out how to nurture the gift so that every child, no matter if they live for 100 years or 10, can make that significant contribution. And that's the why, that's the purpose. So what gets in the way of that? It's this thing, I call it the success gap. It's the difference between what adults want and expect from kids and what kids are capable of and what they're naturally born to do. And the success gap, it looks funny. This is kind of how it looks from a parent's point of view. It's sort of the honor roll, IP, AB, soccer mom, imagine speaking valedictorian role, where parents have a special idea of how they want their kids to be. And unwittingly, they force that on their kids. Then sometimes you get two kinds of kids. You get the kids who won't do anything because they don't feel as though they're being valued. Or you get the kids who try a lot of things and never finish anything because they've never found their own true voice. It's like a pact, though. You know, we have this one linear line of progression. If you just get straight A's, and if you take the SAT, and if you get into college, and then if you go to the right school, and then if you get married, and then if you have kids, and then you have people who end up, and it's like they're in a David Byrne song. How did I get here? What am I doing? What is my meaning and purpose? The goal of education is not to get into college. The goal of education should be to have a meaningful and purposeful life, because that's where people feel happy. And unfortunately, schools, you know, they're in on it too. Plenty of people have talked about the way schools need to change. But I think even the ways that we're changing them, we need to be very careful about. Because even though I like things like project-based learning and flipping the classroom and blended learning, online this, MOOCs, the reality is those are the hows, those are the means. We have not asked the central question of why we are educating kids and what is it that they have to give. So until we ask that question, this way that we're doing it is just this flat line. Because what's happening is kids are bored or they're becoming worse, compliant. And complacency happens because the kids don't feel connection to meaning or purpose. Flat line means you're dead. Our desires and goals and wishes for kids, those are our sugar plum fairy dreams. They dance in our heads, not in theirs. So here's what kids need. They need to learn how to develop their strengths. So what's a strength? Is a strength something that you're good at? Maybe, hopefully. A strength is what energizes you. It is the live wire that runs through you, and when you do it, you feel good, and you don't care what people think. It doesn't necessarily mean you're talented at it. Lots of people really like something and they're not talented at it. We call that American Idol. But guess what? If you don't like it, if you don't have a strength, if it doesn't keep your attention, you're not going to focus on it very long. So you can force a kid to do math all day long in the hopes that they rise from a stubborn C to a C+, but they shouldn't build their life on that. We spend so much time in our schools and in our homes talking about how to develop weakness, as if hammering and hammering and hammering on the weakness will somehow enliven our children. But you don't become a school builder or a man who lives in space or someone who's going to solve the carbon footprint or a percussionist or any of those things. You do not become an expert by hammering on your weaknesses. You come by finding that gift inside each person that makes them tick and makes them move. And once they figure that out, you get this. This is a heartbeat. And it's not a subject in school. It's not like writing or reading, although those are good things. Interests are not strength. It's that thing you do within it that you love, and then you can transfer it. So for instance, I love editing. You know why? Same reason that I like to organize my closet. You take little pieces and you move it around till it looks all neat and great, and then I feel good. And you know what? Now that I know that, I can apply that anywhere. That's a strength. That's what I love to do. So this boy, he is in a school, and his mother, he's in my school actually. He's one of those first followers. that suddenly made me look not so crazy out there saying, let's start a school based on strengths. Because, you know, I don't want to just sit around and talk about it. I want to do it. So we started a school where we got rid of the subjects and we're just focusing on projects driven by strengths. And this young man here, he designed a, well, the mission of our school is to develop humanitarians, innovators, and entrepreneurs. And by doing projects, they do that. So this guy here, Nick is his name. He's the greatest kid in the world. He designed a wearable piece of tech. And he made it out of plastic from an airplane seat. And he sticks his iPad in the belt buckle, and it flips pictures through it. Not his iPad, his iPod. And it flips pictures through it, so his belt buckle can change all the time. And he just met with a patent attorney. That kid's 12. But here's the greatest thing. His mom doesn't care that he's going to be some big inventor. His mom drives up to the school and sits in the parking lot before he gets out and watches him, because he is so alive with joy. Because right now is what matters. The future matters too, but strengths, see, they're just not right now. They should last a lifetime. So this is 1943, and these are the heroes in my life. And they're heroes because they never compared us. That's my dad up in the tree. He's always been a climber, whether it's a social climber or climbing up the corporate ladder. He's a wonderful, wonderful man, and that's his sister and brother down below. And you know what? Their strengths started to show at a very young age. Kids' strengths start to show right when their tendencies begin. You can find them. And so, you know, these things last a lifetime. So here they are in 1988, in this, in the prime of their life, when you're really just starting to get this strength stuff, you know. And the real great thing is that at the end of your life, or near the end of your life, this is where your strengths should really have shown, and you should really have a legacy by that time. But guess what? This isn't just for the lucky people who somehow make it. This is what every child deserves. This is what everything we do for kids in schools should be premised on. The why of your life should come before the how. Because once you have the why, any how that you encounter, any failure, any setback, any struggle, and you know what? Every kid's going to meet those things head on. But when they have a why and a purpose, the hows become easy. That's what every child deserves. Thank you.